Hello and welcome into another installment of the JAXUSL Report along with Mauricio Ruiz. I'm Cole Pepper, and boy, do we have an entertaining game of the week to get to. We'll do that in just a moment. But first, we have some other things we want to dive into here. Want to remind you as well, right now is a great time to go to JaxUSL.com and click the link. All you have to do to put your deposit down for season tickets for the JaxUSL teams or the Super League team, $25 gets you lined up for the start of professional soccer returning to Jacksonville. Mauricio, some big news this week. Let's start first with news from U.S. Soccer announcing they're going to move their headquarters and training to Atlanta. It's coming south. Had been in Chicago, of course, soccer house for years and years. What are your thoughts on the move from the upper Midwest down to Atlanta?
Yeah, so much the location is not so much the issue. The fact that they're going to now make it all under one roof, if you would, having the headquarters, people that are making the decisions, but also the training centers. That's something that U.S. really has not had. A lot of other countries have it. So to have your headquarters adjacent to or located near where your teams, your national teams will be training, it's not just the men's and women's senior national teams. You can have all your youth teams training out of there. So to have that family-like environment where you can actually see, you can build upon, have a staff that's operating out of there, that's something that's been needed for a long time. Bring it to Atlanta allows it to bring it to the south, allows for more cross-training throughout the whole year, rather than in Chicago, sometimes that might be difficult. So I think it's needed to have that training center, that hub where U.S. national team players can feel like they have a home now.
We'll keep an eye on how that progresses down the line. But let's also now take a moment and talk about something that happened this past week that we had not seen so far, and that is Inter Miami losing a game with Messi on the roster. Now, Messi didn't play in this one. It's going to be interesting to see moving forward how he balances club and country because, you know, there was talk he was going to retire from Argentina, but now maybe he'll come back for the Olympics. There are all these other thoughts about how he might be involved. What do you think about Messi's balance here with his MLS responsibilities and his country responsibilities?
Well, I think there's a little more to that as well. Obviously, he went away for international break, but the U.S. is something different as far as the demographic and the size, the geography of the U.S. and the size of it. There's a lot of travel. Miami to Atlanta is probably the furthest that you would ever travel in Europe outside of a Champions League game. And now you're also playing on turf in Atlanta. So there's a couple other conditions here that I believe, and this is kind of what I think is common to a lot of these other superstars that have come here in the past, they're very selective to what away games they go to, specifically if they're going to be playing on turf. Coming off of international break, you just keep adding conditions that are not beneficial to a 36, 37-year-old that you want to be performing at home. So I think that balance and how, when he travels, which arenas he travels to, the packaging of the consistency of the games, I think it's going to take a lot of count in how many games he goes to. A lot of disappointed people in Atlanta.
Right.
Even though they've won 5-2, a lot of disappointed people that wanted to see Messi play.
Yeah, I think that's the case also for folks who may have tuned in for the game, wanted to see Messi again. More chances to come for sure as far as Leo Messi. All right, this week, Jaguars are back at home, and you have a chance to get a little Jaguars and soccer together. Check out the Youth Soccer Day presented by JaxUSL. If you want to register your players, boys and girls age 4 to 12, you can do that. Just go to JaxUSL.com or go to sign up, get a ticket to the game for the Jaguars and Texans. You get JU coaching for those young kids. And Mauricio, this is a great opportunity to get out there on that flex field on Sunday and get a little soccer lessons for the kids, but also combine it with a little Jaguars football.
Yeah, the two brands of football that we love here in Jacksonville. And it's just a unique opportunity to be inside the stadium, inside the practice facility where the Jaguars players have practiced so far, and be able to be coached by Division I athletes, be able to kind of be part of the community. It's about 150 kids registered. I think the registration goes up to 200, so there's a limit, there's a capacity. As good Jacksonville Floridian fans, we always a little bit late to registering, so I do expect to have a big burst in registration. So good opportunity to get registered, just a great weekend.
All right, we'll look forward to that. All right, now let's turn our attention to the USL Championship in Mauricio's corner and take a look at the results from this past week. And there were some goals scored. You see right there, Phoenix rising to the occasion, 5-0 over Detroit. You had Memphis, a 4-2 win over Hartford. Hartford's now eliminated from playoff contention. We'll get to the San Antonio-Tampa Bay game here in just a moment. And then Monterey Bay, who's been on a roll, a 3-2 win over Las Vegas. for whatever reason, the goal scorers were out and getting some work done this past weekend.
Yeah, and Phoenix have been a little bit inconsistent, but this is something they've actually done before. They've put more than a 3 spot on a couple of teams a few times. They're a very aggressive forwarding team. They do leave themselves kind of wide open, but as we're kind of coming down to the last couple of weeks of the season, Cole, a couple of teams just need to make the most out of the opportunities. You look at Charleston Battery there. I mean, they're fighting for that top spot, and they kind of go into London United, don't get the result. Look at Birmingham in the bottom of the screen. You playing against RGV, you think you guys should be getting the result there. You don't get the result. So a couple of teams are leaving points out on the table against teams that they really should be capitalizing on. That's going to hurt them come a couple weeks as we kind of start getting seeding to the playoffs.
All right, let's take a look at the standings. Starting in the Western Conference, where Sacramento Republic has clinched a spot in the playoffs. They're on top, 54 points from 29 matches. Remember, 34 matches in the season for the USL Championship. So some of these teams have played 29, some 30, a couple have played 28, so they have some matches in hand. But keep an eye, you mentioned Phoenix and how they have done. They haven't lost in a month. They've won 4 of their last 5 with a draw mixed in. They, along with Monterey Bay, are the 2 hottest teams right now in the USL Championship in terms of their recent performance. Monterey Bay just above that line now, a point ahead of El Paso Locomotive and level on points with Colorado Springs and with Oakland. That bottom of the West is going to be a real battle right down to the wire.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you still have really 4 teams that are in. New Mexico's not out of it. We've seen these runs and momentums that teams are carrying. All of a sudden, if New Mexico, which they have actually a pretty good team, they get 3 or 4 games on a spin there. And you look at Roots, Monterey Bay, they haven't been consistent throughout the year, even though Monterey's on a great stretch right now. But nothing to say that maybe if they stumble a little bit, New Mexico and El Paso can skip. So we have our fight at the top, and we know those players in there, but it's going to be a really good fight for the 7th and 8th spot.
All right, let's take a look at the East. As we mentioned, you've got Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, and Charleston battling for the top spot right now. Those are really the 3 teams that can get to that top spot. Pittsburgh, Charleston both have played 30 matches. They've got 4 more remaining. Tampa Bay has a game in hand. They've played 29, and the Rowdies trying to work their way up, just 3 points behind Pittsburgh as things stand right now. But look at the bottom there at the playoff line. You've got Tulsa on 36 points, Detroit City on 34. Detroit just lost for the first time in their last 5 games. Those other teams, Miami, Loudoun, and Hartford, not really going to be a part of this. Hartford already eliminated. But there is a battle between maybe those last 3 teams for 2 spots, 7, 8, and 9.
Well, and that's why playoff is so much fun, right? I mean, if in most seasons, if you finish 8th or going towards the end of the season, you're in 8th place, you're kind of out of it. Maybe you're fighting for some of those, as we know, European spots. But here you actually have a chance to get a home field advantage. You get 2, 3 as you're going into the playoffs. Get hot as you're going into the playoffs. And that's exactly what Tulsa's trying to do. Indy's been doing that for a while. Memphis and Legion, they've kind of been a little bit inconsistent towards the end. So it's going to be a nice, interesting fight. I mean, I think at the top you have big dogs fighting, right? They've been good all season long, but at the bottom, these teams are inconsistent. If they can get hot at the right time, they're good enough to knock somebody out.
Speaking of the top of the East and the top of the West, boy, what a matchup we had in our Got Sport Game of the Week. San Antonio against Tampa Bay. You've got 2 of the top teams in their respective divisions, their respective conferences. And Mauricio, not only was this a goal-filled game, you see 3-3, but what an entertaining game. What a storyline, back and forth, the emotional highs and lows of this one. What a great performance here.
Yeah, and 2 teams that are highly entertaining the way they go about it, right? I mean, sometimes teams contrast each other, so the game kind of gets slowed down in different portions on the field. These 2 teams, I mean, they're full throttle all game long. They're high pressing. They convert on the turnover. They get on the counterattack. They also leave themselves a little bit exposed, which is why we're going to see a lot of opportunities that look like they're counterattacks, 3v2, 3v1 at times, but just really entertaining, as you mentioned.
Let's look at this highly entertaining matchup that could be a preview of the USL Championship final, potentially. Here we are early going, and you see San Antonio in the black getting some early opportunities.
Yeah, really good, nice little clever combination play on top of the box. San Antonio, as we know, just a very vertical team. As you see here again, balling behind. Can we get an early cross in? And they just couldn't quite convert. Patino there, he just rejoined the team from their championship year last year. Just really good chances. XG in this game for San Antonio, 1.7. For Rowdies, 2.1. Quite a good chances.
And now here is Patino getting that chance in the 22nd minute, putting it away. He has been a factor since rejoining San Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, the combination between him and Alashi up there, they're just 2 really dangerous players.
Here we are at Tampa Bay trying to get an opportunity here. J.J. Williams has been in the middle of this most of the year for the Rowdies.
Yeah, so calm and cool and collected, but J.J. is just known for he just not convert enough chances. He's scoring quite a bit of goals, but he probably should be the leading goal scorer in the USL Championship this year.
Now the second half, and San Antonio with a run out here, and Nathan in the 51st minute gives San Antonio the 2-0 lead.
Yeah, and just not a good goalkeeping there. You see he's down to his knees early, probably tried to anticipate the play, but Nathan does a good job of putting it up for 90 near post.
More opportunities for San Antonio in the 55th minute.
But Patino, just great combination play. Nathan, again, he was really all over the field. He's almost celebrating O'Reilly, but Sparrow keeps the ball outside of the net.
All right, so 2-0, and Tampa Bay looking to claw one back. And here we go in the 67th minute from distance. Beautiful feed in, and then J.J. Williams delivers there.
Yeah, you said it. Just a beautiful ball. Really difficult for the defenders to try to catch that. But J.J. with a 6'5" frame, just well placed. Only he could get that ball and stuffs it away.
All right, just 4 minutes later, penalty opportunity. Charlie Dennis puts it away for the Rowdies, and we've got a whole new soccer match, 2-2 here in the 71st.
Boy, and in San Antonio, tying it 2-2. And now they leave Josh Perez just running on his own. You can see the San Antonio defense just backpedaling, really difficult position. And you let a good player like that to shoot from top of the box. Mitchell Taylor, one of the best players, ball deflects it off of him and just goes over the goalkeeper.
Yeah, the deflected ball, as you mentioned, but they all count. It's 3-2 Tampa Bay. Now into stoppage time, and San Antonio gets the equalizer. Ignacio Baglioni, 2 minutes into stoppage time. What a moment there in San Antonio.
And he had just come on the field as a substitute as well. And you can see the keeper Sparrow tries to reach over, probably misreads it. And then Baglioni just comes on the back post and puts it away. And this will feel like a win for San Antonio to be able to secure, to recover 1 point. But I would bet it will feel like a big loss going back home to Tampa for the Rowdies. On the road, you get up to 3-2 after coming back 2-0. What a battle to kind of just give it to give that up on a set piece. With less than 2 minutes left into the game.
If Tampa Bay had held there, they would have been just 1 point behind in the Eastern Conference standings. So you talk about how one play can make a difference in a season. That could be one.
Well, really difficult place to go. Not many people going into San Antonio this season on that team, defending champion, and get all 3 points. So they were within a reach of 3 points. As you mentioned, it took really climb and kind of get right on the heels of Pittsburgh. So a missed opportunity for them, but what a great matchup.
All right, next week, another game of the week presented by Godsport. We'll take a look at Charleston Battery taking on FC Tulsa. Charleston battling for the top spot in the East. Tulsa trying to claw their way over that 8th spot and trying to secure a playoff spot. We'll take a closer look at that matchup next week. Also coming up, we will be heading out to the River City Rumble as JU takes on UNF at JU on Saturday at 7 o'clock. That's the next installment of that River City Rumble. Of course, a great rivalry between our two colleges here in town. Always fun to be. You were a part of a lot of those through the years when you were coaching JU.
Yeah, and really the great thing about that game is that it doesn't matter where you are in the season. This is early, so this is only the second conference game so far, but it doesn't matter. You could be 0-10, you can be 10-0, depending on which team, but it's always a battle. There's a lot of heated exchange, and the game just feels like a battle, like a war the entire time. So expect a really entertaining game in that game. And it's really what we want to do. We want to promote our local college teams, whether men and women, River City Rumble or not. There's some really good quality play happening here in Jacksonville, and we want to make sure that our community gets out and supports it.
That's a great shout out. We want to give one more shout out because on Tuesday, Mauricio celebrated a birthday. So happy birthday to Mauricio. It was a milestone. I'll let you figure it out from there, but happy birthday to Mauricio Ruiz. All right, remember to like and subscribe. Make sure you get the very latest on what's happening with JaxUSL as we move forward with professional soccer returning to Jacksonville. For the birthday boy, I'm Cole Pepper. Thanks so much for joining us right here on the JaxUSL Report.